All right, hello folks, welcome on in here to our user group webinar. My name is Jim. I'll be leading our presentation here today where over the next 20 minutes or so we'll be basically going through and calculating a payroll, talking about some of the options that we have there. If you guys have our regional training workbooks, we're going to be working from the Payroll 101 workbook, pages 24 through 36, I think. Yeah, 36 is the text I'll be working from for our presentation here today. Before we get started on this, however, quick word about your GoToWebinar control panel, which everybody's going to have on your screen right now. It's got a little red arrow button in the upper left-hand corner usually that lets you either minimize or maximize that control panel, allowing you either a little bit more room on your display to see what we're talking about in our presentation, or maximizing that gives you access to the various features there, in particular the question section, which you can type in any question related to the topic at hand, specifically calculating payroll. And once I'm done with the presentation part, I'll be able to answer any questions that you might have there. Without any further ado then, we'll go ahead and get started on that. We are running version 2019 Service Release 2, which is the current version of the payroll program. With payroll, it is important to be on the current version of that software because the payroll program does keep track of state and federal tax tables and will do the calculations for you when we're going through the process that we're going to be going through here today with the Calculate Payroll. So being on the current version is particularly important with the payroll program. Okay, the assumptions that we're making for this presentation here today is that you've gone through the system, you've set up your employees, you've created allowances and deductions and did all of the settings that you have for your particular employees. Once all that stuff's done, that's the majority of the legwork that you're going to have to do. Calculating the payroll is usually going to be the easy bit. So let's go ahead and talk through those easy bits now. From your payroll opening screen here, you can simply open up the menu that says payroll right here. At the very top, you've got your calculate payroll listed there. The calculate payroll process is in a series of numbered screens. You'll see up in the upper left-hand corner, calculate payroll 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. as we go through our process here. So first one here is our calculate payroll 1 window. Where you set the pay date and then the date that the pay period ended. Those things can be different. I'm going to go ahead and set my pay period ending on the 15th of September, but I'm doing the pay date of today, the 19th. So those can be different dates when you're coming on the Calculate Payroll 1 window. Clicking Next, surprise, surprise, takes you to the Calculate Payroll 2 window. This is the window where you're going to select which of your employees you're going to be running the payroll for. A couple of different ways that you can do that. In the upper right-hand corner, if you select all employees / contractors, you can only filter who you're calculating the pay for using by department or by pay type, as you see in the left-hand section, or how their pay periods are calculated. If you go to specific employee / contractor in the upper right-hand corner, then you can select specific employees you want to calculate your pays for. In the case for our presentation here today, I'm going to be calculating pays for 2 of our employees, Larry Higgins, Jimmy Hilliard. We'll see as we go through the process here. Mr. Higgins is our pastor. Mr. Hilliard is just one of our employees here. So when I click Next, from here, it's going to start the process of calculating the pay for the employees that you selected on the previous window. If I click down to Jimmy Hilliard here, you are going to see from the tabs that you have listed here at the bottom, Jimmy is one of our hourly employees. So here on the pay hours / rates tab, you're going to set how many hours that Jimmy worked. I'm going to go ahead and set that to 48 hours this pay period. And as we go through our process here, it's going to calculate based on the number of hours that you have that set to. Switching over to Larry, you're going to see that he is a salaried employee. That's just going to be set to 0 on that window here. You can review any deductions that you have set up for your particular employees on here. Make adjustments to those things if you want to from here. Percentage or amounts you can change on that. Same with allowances. So you'll see our pastor's housing allowance, our automobile allowance listed here. These things can be adjusted from here, but they're also set from the other windows where you kind of set up the properties for your employees earlier. Clicking on next from the calculate payroll 3 window takes us to 4. This window is where you can kind of browse all of your payments using this button right here. We do encourage you to kind of click on this button as you're going through here, just kind of reviewing things as they're set up, making sure everything is looking how you would expect it to. You can see here when we have Larry selected here at the top, our federal amount withheld, our Social Security withheld, Medicare withheld set to 0s. He's our pastor, so that's the way it should look on this page. Okay. But again, these things can all be reviewed. If things need changed here for whatever reason, they can be changed here. But all of this stuff is calculated by the payroll program for you based on how everything is set up. Okay. From here, you can also tell the system whether you want to run various reports. As you're going through this, we're going to go ahead and take a quick look at each of those reports. So I'm going to check each of them, and we'll have a word or two about each of them as we go. Clicking on next, because we have preview reports checked up here at the top, is going to open to a print preview window for the 4 reports that you can run. First one is our taxable earnings detail report here. And again, as we saw from the browse payments window, you know, you're going to see the 0s for Social Security, Medicare, and withholding. It's also going to show us the total that we've got for allowances, etc. on these. Okay, on the taxable earnings detail report. Okay. As we go to the next page, this is our pay type earnings detail, just other total earnings, kind of in a different format from here. The pay period deductions report is one that you want to review. This one is the one that's actually going to show you the 941 deposit. So this is what's going to filter into our 941 payroll liability over in our accounting module when we transfer over there. That's what we're going to need to remit to the government for our 941 from this pay. And our check register. These are the amounts of the checks that we're going to be printing after the process here if you're printing checks. If you had a printer set up ready to rumble, you simply click the print button in the upper left-hand corner. It'll send it to your physical device. I do not have a printer set up here, and you couldn't see me print it out anyway, so I'm not going to click that button. Okay. Clicking next here takes you to the Calculate Payroll 6 window. If you have employees that are electronic file transfer employees, you'll want to make sure that you create your EFT from here. Also allows you to print checks automatically going from here. Now, if these aren't checked, you'll have to kind of manually go through and click on those features in the program in order to go and print your checks, in order to create your EFT file. But if you have these things checked, including the transfer to accounting, it's going to kind of automatically do these things after you click finish. I'm not going to do that though, because we want to show you, if you click no for post to payroll on here, if you're not ready to go ahead and post this at this time, going through this process is actually going to save the pay as it is at this point. So if I click no to post to payroll and I finish, it's going to give us this message, the payroll has been successfully calculated, but it's not actually posted into the system. It's ready to rumble, it just hasn't happened yet. When we click OK, it takes us out of here. I could close out of payroll, do whatever I need to do. When I come back into payroll though, and I open my payroll menu, notice how next to where it says calculate payroll here though, there's a little check mark there. That's telling us that there has been pay calculated, it just hasn't been posted into the system yet. When I select calculate payroll, it's going to tell us there's our pay date and our pay period ending on dates, the employees that we're ready to rumble for, and we can just post it here. We can edit and make changes if we need to, or we can dump it and get rid of it entirely. If I click edit, it takes us right back to where we were, and you can go through the process and make changes if you want to. So once you're ready to rumble, you can click post to payroll. I'll say yes here and click finish. It's going to tell us our payroll has been posted to our employee files. It's going to be on their on their W-2s as of this moment, this payroll. Then it's going to ask us to create our electronic file transaction here. This is a file that you save that you then at a later time remit to your bank to perform the transfer for you. So this is going to create that EFT file for you from here. When you click on next, this is the pay stub that you can print out for your employees that have electronic file transfer. This isn't a check. As you see when you look at this, you've got your to be deposited via electronic transfer listed there. So it's just a stub that you print out for your employees. Okay. When you're done with all that, you can tell the system that you have printed the stub by putting a check mark here. When you click finish, it creates that file. There's a couple of other hoops to jump through to actually get that out to your bank. We're not going to cover it in this webinar. It's just another thing you click to do that. Then it takes you to the print checks window where you can type in the next check number that you're going to print up here at the top for starting check number. When you hit your tab key, it's going to assign that check number. If you had several employees whose checks you were going to print, it would populate them in order down the screen. In this case, we're only printing the one check. So it's only going to do that one. If you want to print something on the memo field on the check, you can do this here. Whatever's appropriate there. I just put something in there so we can see where it's going to print on our check. When we click next, it's going to take us to the print preview window because we have the preview box checked here. If this weren't checked, it would simply send the print job directly to the printer without giving us a print preview. Let's go ahead and click next and take a look at our checks. This is set to a stub on the top, check in the middle, stub on the bottom format. So the middle bit is going to be their check. You'll see the memo field is filled out right here. You would click your print button to send this to your printer at that time. Okay. We're going to lie, say that the check printed. We're all good to go. Okay. Clicking on finish, we're done with our checks. We also had checked to perform the transfer to accounting as well. So this is the window that is going to show you the effects over in the accounting module. If you have your payroll program linked over to Church Windows, all of your expense accounts here for various allowances for various deductions, etc. on here. The pension plans, all that stuff, all of the liabilities that you might have set up for various deductions, you'll see those listed here as well. There's a nice report you can print right from here. You'll see there's a print button up here at the top, which is basically this information. It's a nice place. This financial accounting transfer audit report is a nice place to see all of the effects that are going to happen over in your accounting module right here. Okay. Once you're ready to rumble, you just click the transfer button on here and it will perform those updates over in your accounting module. The transaction numbers are posted and there's the total. If you click yes, it'll print that same transfer audit report we just took a look at. And that's it, folks.